It's fallacy time. This is a quick review on fallacies, and I say quick review, it's quick for me. We do have quite a few slides to go through, but I'm going to go through some brief definitions of the flaws, then go through some examples of the flaws in this review. It is a lot of slides, but I'm going to try to go through it as quick as possible. So let's talk about valid arguments and everything. Valid argument is one in which the conclusion follows the reasons and premises. Quick review of that. So if the premise of a valid argument are true, the conclusion must also be true. The other side of the coin is that if an argument has a premises that are true but has a conclusion that is false, then the argument itself is invalid because it's unreliable. An invalid argument is one that has reasoning errors or flaws. These flaws are called fallacies, which we're going to be talking about in this review. So what is a flaw? A flaw, just as it says, is a fault in a pattern of reasoning which weakens the support given to the conclusion of the argument. And they all got really fun names that we will go through. So logical fallacies. Circular reasoning, begging the question, is promising to support your claim, but then providing none. This is the idea where you sort of repeat yourself over and over again. It was a beautiful day outside because outside was beautiful. You're not really adding anything new with that because that reasoning is just sort of repeating the conclusion. Bandwagon is inviting readers to accept a claim because everyone else does or because a prestigious group does. The idea that 4 out of 5 doctors recommend something, or hey, everybody else likes pizza, you should like pizza as well. The idea that just because a bunch of people believe something or think something means that you should as well. This isn't the idea of believing some piece of science. This is the idea of kind of using it as a point in an argument. Argument from authority is inviting readers to accept a claim because the claim is put forth by someone in a position of authority, even though that authority is invalid. This is typically where you see celebrities endorse a product. While they might seem like an authority on the topic, a lot of times they are not. It's not a scientific professional or someone who's done a ton of research. It's like, hey, I like this product. You should purchase this product too. Again, celebrity endorsements kind of fall into this category. Slippery slope is always that fun one. Forecasting a series of events, usually disastrous, that befell one if the first stated step is taken. It's the idea that those old disaster commercials that we used to see where the guy would, if you don't have cable, you spend a lot of time on the phone, you get frustrated, take a walk. While taking a walk, you run into a group of muggers. They mug you, beat you up, and you end up at the bottom of a ditch. Switch to satellite so you don't end up in the bottom of a ditch. That's that slippery slope, this idea that you're going to quickly end up at this like awful situation. Straw man is inserting a false or unrelated premise into an argument and proving the false or unrelated premise wrong as a claim that the initial argument is wrong. This is it's a very weak aspect of an argument that you use as a way to negatively impact an argument. It's not really strong. It can be blown down really easy. It can be debated against pretty easily. That's why they call it a straw man. It can be knocked down. Appeal to pity, substituting emotions for reasons. Those old, adopt a doll commercials kind of fall under this as this idea of appeal to pity. Ad hominem is attacking the man. This is where you're attacking the qualities of the people holding an opposing view rather than the substance of the view itself. So we're not attacking the person's thoughts. We're attacking the person. Of course, you shouldn't believe. I won't believe you. You're an idiot. The person being an idiot has nothing to do with the point of view that they made. Guilt by association is similar to ad hominem. It's the attack implying that an individual's argument, ideas, or opinions lack merit because of that person's activities, interests, or associates. The idea of, I went by that product that came from this company. If that company's made bad products in the past, that product might be very good, but it has an association of being related to these other products. False cause or post hoc fallacy. This comes from the Latin term post hoc ergo propter hoc, meaning after this, therefore because of this. Assuming that because A preceded B, then A must have caused A. This idea that a false cause, believing that, hey, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, therefore I had a bad day. And using that idea that you woke up on the wrong side of the bed as the reason that you had a bad day. The two are unrelated. False analogies, assuming that because two things are alike in similar ways, they must be alike in other ways. The whole, hammers can be used to kill people. So as guns, if you're going to ban guns, then you must need to ban hammers. As a way to kind of make that false analogy that just trying to find one thing that's related means that they're related in other ways. Either or, fallacy, false dilemma, false dichotomy, black or white, all those fall under this one category. Assuming that a complicated question has only two answers, one good and one bad, or both good or both bad, you're either with us or against us, kind of being that falling under that idea. Hasty generalization, arguing from the particular to the general. It's making a claim on the basis of inadequate evidence or generalizing about something on the basis of too little evidence. The red car, my red car got stolen, so red cars are the most stolen car. You don't know that for sure. There might not be research to back that up. You're just making a generalization based off of something that specifically happened to you. The last few ones, non sequitur, as it does not follow, linking two or more ideas. In fact, they have no logical connection. The statement does not follow logically from what has just been said. The idea that, Mr. Ling is a good teacher because they have children themselves, because he has children themselves. The fact that I have children doesn't necessarily make me a good teacher. The two are not related. They're two different types of skill sets. So that's where that idea of it not logically following. Card stacking and special pleading. This ignores evidence on the other side. I talked a little bit about this in the last slide when we talked about selectivity. Only selecting those items that build the best or worst possible case. This is where you you can throw Texas sharpshooter in this as well, where you pull those things like, hey, try this diet plan. John and Diane lost 200 pounds with the quick weight loss plan. Well, you're picking two people that might have had success on it, but you're not showing the kind of overall, like, hey, how did it impact lots of people? I've already talked about false dilemma. And then red herring, it's introducing an irrelevant issue intended to distract readers from the relevant issues, going off on a tangent. We see this a lot of times with politicians when they start talking about it's a way to kind of deflect something they might not know a ton about, or to get off the topic of something that might make them look bad and getting it on topic of something that they may help them or may make them look better. It's arguing about, a politician and their views on education, and they kind of start talking about, education is great and everything, but with education and protecting schools, we really have to focus on gun control, and then kind of going off on a tangent about gun control when it had really nothing to do with the question about education. That's what we talk about with red herring. All right, next few slides we could come up are examples. So I'm just going to go through them, show you the examples, and then give you what the fallacy is to fit with those examples. This should help you with the identification. One of your assignments that you have actually deals with the identification of logical fallacies. This is one So the first one, the Bible is true because it says so. Boxing is a dangerous sport because it is an unsafe sport. As you can see, the information, because this reason, is kind of repeating what the conclusion says. With this, the Bible is true because it says so. Again, that kind of circles back to the beginning. Same thing with here. Boxing is dangerous because it is a unsafe sport. Unsafe sport means the same thing as dangerous. So once again, it circles back to the beginning. So that is going to be circular reason or begging the question. Billy Joe is honest, therefore he will get a good job. So here we have someone being honest, and the result of that being getting a good job. This is something where the logic doesn't necessarily follow. It's a non sequitur, that logical thinking. Just because Billy Joe is honest doesn't mean he'll get a good job. It just means that Billy Joe's honest. He's going to tell the truth. Telling the truth might not necessarily be a prerequisite for getting a good job. The candidate smoked pot when he was in college, therefore he should not be president of the United States. Again, we're attacking the person here. That candidate had an affair, attacking the person, therefore he should not be president of the United States. Does not specifically talk about whether or not their policies or what they want to do as a president, just who they are as a person. Again, this would be common attacking the man. Jane is friends with Bob. Jane is friends with Bob, who was caught embezzling from the company. Therefore, she should be fired. Jane did not embezzle from the company. So Jane is not guilty, but she is guilty by association. So again, sort of an ad hominem where you're attacking the person just because of the company she keeps. She should be in trouble as well, even if she wasn't involved in it at all. Professor Perkins, if I don't make an A in your class, I won't get my Hope Scholarship next semester. Oh, look at that, sad. A plaintiff's attorney brings his injured client, who is seeking compensatory damages, into the courtroom and plays up the injury in front of the jury. Injured client, so everybody can see. Once again, very, very sad. So this is appeal to pity, trying to pull on people's emotions. Those sad puppy dog commercials are a good example of that as well, with that "In Arms of the Angel" song playing behind them. And you see the dogs in cages, and hey, we need to take care of these dogs. When Lyndon Johnson was running for president, his team ran a commercial of a little girl in a field holding a daisy when an atomic bomb went off in the background. The Bush campaign ran showing images of 9/11. These are all appeal to fear. This is not something we will see too much, but this idea of, hey, if you don't do this thing, these bad things will happen. It's not quite slippery slope. Because it's not taking the first step. It's the idea that, hey, I'm trying to scare you to believe what I believe. Mom, I should be able to go to the Underground Atlanta to see the free Weezer concert that lasts till 1 a.m. All my friends' moms are letting them go. Nice teenage trope right there, where they use the, hey, my friends' moms are doing those things as well. Despite the cost, the impending gas crisis, and harm to the environment, it is desirable to own an SUV because successful people do so. Successful people. And more people in America drink Budweiser than any other beer. Therefore, it must be the best beer and you should buy it. More people. Therefore, you should buy it. These are all bandwagon appeal to popularity, where they are trying to invite you to, hey, accept this idea because lots of other people do so as well. Hey, this artist is a great artist because they sold the most records, sort of argument. Television commercials advertise their product using famous stars such as Ray Charles advertising Coke. Matt Damon should write an expose about the CIA because he was in a movie. This is appeal to authority or false authority, where you cite the opinion of an expert who has really no expertise on the topic. You should go on the lose weight overnight diet as Mary Smith and Tom Jones, which is a singer, not really in this context, but he is a singer, lost 100 pounds in total in 3 months on it. Again, we're picking two individuals and using that as a claim that you should do this. That would be card stacking and special pleading. You're ignoring evidence on the other side and only showing the positives. The new mayor took office in January. Ever since. After a black cat crossed my path this morning, I got into an accident. That cat was bad luck. Here, once again, we're using, just because something happens beforehand doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to impact the other thing. This is what we call post hoc fallacy or false cause. Banning pesticides to improve the environment is as impractical and unfeasible as banning the automobile. Education cannot prepare men and women for marriage. Trying to educate them for marriage is like trying to teach them to swim without allowing them to go into the water. It can't be done. It's almost like swimming and marriage are two different things, and it's almost like pesticides and automobiles are two different things. So that would be a false analogy. When the things aren't really related, but they try to make some connection there, it's typically a false analogy. America, love it or leave it. Drawing a line in the sand right there. You only have two choices: ban nuclear weapons or destroy the earth. Either we go to war against Iran or the United States will suffer another terrorist attack. So we're talking about two choices in all of these, which would be either or fallacy, false dilemma, black or white, all those false dichotomy, all those types of examples. I saw an accident today by the high school. Teenagers are reckless drivers. 1. America is the best place to live, stated by someone who has rarely visited other countries. All Latins are volatile people. This was said by information by a man named Jesse Holmes to the Mexican Foreign Affairs Subcommittee. So, kind of person Jesse Helms is. But yeah, this is what we call a hasty generalization. You're not going to have a lot of evidence, so you're taking your small example and extrapolating it out to something larger. Why spend money on solving the problems of global warming when we ought to be doing something about terrorists? Interesting. Global warming. Then we're going to discuss terrorists instead. It's a red herring. This is where you insert an irrelevant issue. Terrorists had nothing to do with global warming, but we switched the topic so we could discuss something else. We make handguns illegal. The states will gain too much power and eventually put us all in concentration camps for the slightest infractions. So, first step. And the result. If we legalize marijuana, first step, heroin will become legal and most of America will become heroin addicts. So if we allow people to smoke weed, they're all going to go to heroin eventually. Slippery slope. It goes down very quickly. Only when nuclear weapons have finally destroyed us will we be convinced the need to control them. This is self-contradiction. Was something we really didn't talk a little bit about, but using two premises that can't be simultaneously true. And after Will said that we should put more money into health and education, Warren responded by saying that he was surprised that Will hates our country so much that he wants it to leave it defenseless by cutting military spending. So here we go from wants to put money in the other thing, and they're going to argue that it's taking money from someplace else and having that impact. So this is a straw man. It's a very weak form of the argument, kind of taking one point, arguing that one point of the argument, as opposed to looking at the argument as a whole. Well, that's a review for fallacies. This is a almost 20-minute video. I apologize for being so long. Not sure how to make these things any shorter. I'm a wordy person as it is. As always, be safe, wear seatbelts.